Hi, I'm Venkat. Welcome to TechVeda Academy. Today, I'm going to discuss about a big data engineer, a roadmap to big data engineer in 3 months. So anybody can become a data engineer. For example, a test engineer, or SQL developer, or DB engineer. Whatever the role you have, whatever the role you are currently working in, and if you want to switch the career with upskilling, or any non-IT engineer, even non-IT who work in non-IT, who are into manual testing or any other kind of who are not into a proper IT skills, even if they want to switch their career from different what you call different skill set to a big data engineer or data engineer. I will show you a roadmap which will a step by step process, like how I have explained on AWS and DevOps roadmaps. So I can guide you on how you can become a big data engineer. And there are different roles which we come across, like a big data engineer, or data engineer, or big data developer, etc. So some all most of the roles, most of the designations will be one or other way similar, and you should have a minimum core skill set which is mandatory, and depending on the project which you are assigned, there will be new skills, new tools which you are supposed to learn. But basic idea of what the core elements that is required for a big data engineer, I'm going to explain in this in some modules. Like so initially, because all the big data environments, you will be working on the Linux environments. So you need not become a Linux administrator here. You should know how to log into Linux missions, how you can basic commands in the Linux, like how you copy a file, or how you create a file, how you move the file, how you copy one file or one folder or one directory. We call directory in the Linux, so one directory to another server. So this kind of basic things, how you are going to search the data or search some keywords. So all this, I have made a video in my previous, if you go through my playlist for Linux basic commands for a big data engineer or data engineer, that commands are more than enough for you to learn to start with, at least. So that is about the Linux. So first, initially, you should know Linux basics are more than enough. You don't need to become a administrator for that. So you can install some Linux flavor like Ubuntu, or there will be some virtual missions where you can log in and you can try to get some hands on the Linux missions. So maybe it will take not more than 1 week, not more than 1 week, so you can learn the Linux. Once you complete learning the Linux, then you should, because as a data engineer or data big data developer, everyone, so most of them, because the data is saved, or the data is in available in the servers, like MySQL server or any NoSQL servers everywhere. So basically, most of the companies, when you work, so definitely you should learn SQL. So that is the first, after Linux, which you are supposed to learn. So for SQL, so actually it is structured query language, but when we call in the officially or in the professional way, they call it as a SQL. So you should learn SQL are my SQL, structured query language, one and same. So you should learn SQL, and you don't need to be a developer here again. As I was telling you, for SQL, you should know the basics, like I will list out here basics. So what are the basics? So at least you should learn CRUD operations. So CRUD operations like create, read, update, and delete. So these are the CRUD operations. Then you should know the logical operations. Logical operations. Then aggregate functions. Aggregate functions. then data types, and little joins like left join, right join, and inner join. So these are the at least basic things to start with. So once you are switching into big data engineer, once you start learning, then everything will become easy for you. But initially, to start with, at least you require this basics. So this also will not take more than 1 week if you sit 2 to 3 hours a day, or at least 1 hour or 2 hours a day. It should not take more than 2 weeks to learn for you. So these are the basics which you should know before you switch the career. So these are the sequel. So I will try to, in my next video I will try to start with already I have started with Linux basics, so I have one more part which will be coming soon. And sequel I will try. There are so many sequels already in the YouTube. You can go through any YouTube channels, or you can start installing my sequel, or I have some. If you are into virtual missions, I will provide you one link where you can directly register there, and you can directly log in and start working on it. You don't need to install MySQL or any kind of database on your laptop. So you can directly work on virtual things. Even that is possible. So to learn that basic concepts. So once you are familiar with Linux and SQL basics, then Python, any programming language is good, as if considering you are non-technical or non-IT or a test engineer, or even in case of a SQL developer. So you will be familiar with the SQL if you're a SQL developer. And test engineer, sometimes you are a manual test engineer and you are a non-IT engineer. So from non-programming background, I can suggest you programming concepts. So I will suggest you go with Python, as even when I switched to big data engineer, so I have started to learn Python. I have not gone with Java or any other languages. So you if you know some other language, it's fine, but Python, most of the time, big data scientist, everybody will be using Python. So Python, Scala, or Java. Anything should be fine, but preferably Python. If you don't know any language, I will suggest you to go with Python, as it is like a plain English. You can just understand the Python very easily compared to other languages. So Python, again, you need to understand what you don't need to be a developer here. As a big data for a data engineers, you should understand the concepts like architecture and advantages. Python, how compilation works and everything. Python architecture and advantages. Then variables, data types. I'm typing here data types. Then if loop, for loop, and conditional statements. Then then oops concepts. Exceptional handling. String handlings. File handling. Then in collections, map, set, list. Then methods, JDBC connectivity. So these are at least basic things which you can start working. So it's like learning process. You can start learning Python even while you are going through the other concepts, like which I'm going to tell. So Python, you don't need to worry about like I had to complete third one before I start fourth one. No, you can start learning Python. So while you are also, sometimes you get bored with programming language, so you can come to the fourth module and start learning. So basically it's a like long learning process, so you cannot stop. You cannot say that after 2 weeks I have completed Python, so I'll go with module 4, and you cannot leave the Python there. So you have to travel with the SQL, Python, Linux, all this once you start learning. So it's like everyday process for you. So once you learn the Python basics, then or you can start learning Python parallelly with other modules as well. So you should know what is a big data concepts. What is a big data when it is into the market? I mean, so nobody will ask you about the dates and all, but how the big data has started, how so in the big data concepts we have like a HDF, we have HDFS, Hadoop file systems, and we have like a concepts like a version 1, version 2, and how it came and what are the tools out there. In the core we have Hadoop and MapReduce. Nowadays MapReduce in the back end it is running, but you need at least to learn the theory part. You no need to run all concepts, because it is mostly written in the Java, and nobody, or at least we are not using on actively. It is in the runs, like for example when you run some hive jobs, when you insert some tables in the hive and all, so the MapReduce job runs in the backside, but you don't worry about it. You need to understand some you don't need to understand what it is exactly. So theoretically you should learn, so that it will help you to understand the framework when you learn Spark and other things. So it will be useful for you. So theoretically MapReduce is more than enough. Then once you learn that one Hadoop Hive commands, then you have some other tools here. First you learn the concepts, basic theory part. Then once you know that, then even you have like Hive. First let me write Scoop. It's kind of like you have a database, MySQL database or some other database. So you want to move the data into big data. So how you are moving, so you should have some ingestion tools. So Scoop is one of the ingestion tool, which is a combination of SQL and Hadoop. So SQOOP, it is a Java based script. It's a very easy one, so you can learn it. So you don't need to learn Java for this. It's a kind of commands which you can understand plain English. It's like giving the username, password, and where the data is saved, the location, all that. Like it will be like a Linux command itself. So Scoop is one ingestion tool where you bring the data from MySQL to big data HDFS environment. So that's how. So once you bring the data, you need to process something. So that's how you have to learn the. It's kind of in the big data. For example, if you want to, it's like ETL, extract, transform, and load. So if you think that, so ETL, if you think that Scoop is an extraction tool, or we can consider it an extraction tool, and then you have to learn Hive concepts, which a Hive is a transformation. So whatever the data you dump there into different file formats, then you can do some transformations, whatever the, like you want to select top 10, or you have to do some aggregation commands, or you extract you transform different based on the requirements. So you learn the Hive. So once you are good with that, then you can learn the load. So once you know how to bring the data, you can also do it with the help of Scoop. So again it will be a Scoop. Or when you cover the cloud concept, we will be dealing with that in another tool as well. So that's a minimum concepts you learn in the Hive. And then in the Hadoop, we do have in the big data concepts, we do learn about the Spark. Spark. If you want, you can learn Spark with Scala, or Spark with Python, that is a PySpark. So Spark with Scala or Python, you can learn in any way. So as you learned already Python, so it will be better if you can learn PySpark. That will be easy. So both way you can. So some projects they use PySpark, some will use Scala as well. But learning one thing is more than enough. Even some companies still are using Hive instead of Spark, because slowly they are moving into Spark. But even if you learn this, that is more than enough initially to start with. Then once you are into the big data engineering or big data analytics or big data developer, then you can start learning you can add so you cannot sit for 6 months and learn all the concept, and when you go back, whatever you learned in the first month you will forget. So I suggest you to quickly learn the concepts and start working on it. So slowly you can what you say, you can start learning the other concepts whenever it is required, then that will give more edge into you. So that's how you can learn that one. So once it is done, then yeah, you have to be you have to understand all this extract, what is extract, transform, load, and what are the tools were used previously, and how Spark can be done with how Spark is doing that one with the help of without the tools. So all that concepts you can learn that one. So once you are done with that fourth module, then you can go with the cloud concept, as most of the big data is happening in the cloud environments now. So I will suggest you go with the cloud concepts. So what are the cloud concepts you need to learn? So you have to understand what is cloud computing, what is cloud computing. And for example, we have AWS, Microsoft Azure, and we have GCP, Google. So and other, but these are the major things we have. And but I suggest you to go with anything. But I have learned AWS, so you can do anything. But more as more requirements and vast requirements are in AWS. Initially, don't go for all the cloud. Like you don't step into AWS, Azure, GCP, whatever way you are. For example, in your company, the project they are using Azure, go with Azure. If GCP is used, you can go with GCP, because you learn something and the project is using some other thing, so that will be difficult for you to get into that project. So it's better you learn you learn whatever the cloud you have into your company, then learn that one. And you can ask in your team member saying that I learned this one, uh, I learned big data, I learned AWS, so I want to get into your project or something like that. If you want to switch internally, initially this best idea to switch internally, so that even the company knows that you learn the concepts, and you are waiting for to get into the project. So that will be better for you. That is the best option. So like that you can learn the cloud concepts. So you can I have learned AWS. So here you can learn if you are learning AWS, then I'll suggest you for a big data engineer, there is a difference between a AWS developer, a big data engineer, or so for data engineers, you no need to learn all the cloud services. So we have a different, like how where you are storing the data. For example, in HDFS, we store the data in HDFS. So similarly, in AWS, you save the data in the you store the data in S3, that is simple storage services. So we have S3. And for Linux missions, if you want to operate some Linux missions, so what we do is our Unix servers or any Windows mission. So it is like a compute storage. So EC2, Elastic Cloud Compute. We have EC2, and we have RDS, which is called like databases, where you can configure your MySQL or any kind of NoSQL databases, or RDS databases you can configure here. And AWS EMR, it is Elastic MapReduce. It's kind of a configuration which you can do, like if you're working on Hadoop already, so it's kind of a Cloudera. If you see, it's a Cloudera. So you have Cloudera environment where it's already installed, pre-installed with Hive, MySQL, everything, whatever required. For example, your data administrator or Hadoop administrator has installed one setup for you, installing Hive, MySQL or Spark, whatever required. In the same way, you can install all that in while you are configuring the EMR, Elastic MapReduce. You can select in the AWS console, like what are the services you want to, like with Hadoop and Spark, or with Hive and so different options you will get it. So you have to configure it. So in the backend, it will be configured with the EC2s, and you log into the Hadoop environment, like how you log in with Hive. How you log in with the Cloudera. So similarly, we'll be logging in with here AWS environment. It's kind of a Hadoop environment in the AWS. So that's how you learn Hadoop and Athena. It is one of the another concept where you learn some. For example, you save the data like CSV files or any files in the S3, so you can input as in for Athena, that is an input. You can take input from any S3 input, and you can query the data. It acts like a no serverless SQL, serverless MySQL or anything. So it gives a query is whatever you have, like it acts as a serverless environment for you, so you don't need to install anything on that. Just you give the inputs and you query the data whatever you required from the CSV file or parquet file, whatever the format you have. So you have to define that files whatever the Athena is accepting, and you can load bulk commands into that, and you can query the query whatever the required for you. So it's like and you have AWS glue. So these are the minimum concepts at least you have to learn. And there is a data warehousing, that is a Redshift in the AWS. You can learn Redshift, or if you want, nowadays there are some openings for Snowflake as well. So you don't need to learn all the data warehouses. If you are good with Redshift, if your company is using Redshift, you can use Redshift. Or if you wanted to learn Snowflake, you can also do that one. So no need to learn both. If you learn one thing, the other thing will be easy. So like that, you can learn anything. uh, so these are the concepts, cloud concepts. So for Snowflake, you don't require to learn many things. Snowflake is based on like SQL. So once you know SQL, you can also understand the Snowflake very well, with the data warehousing concept. So that's also pretty easy. So you don't need to learn both, like how I was saying, Redshift and Snowflake. You can learn any one thing. So that's how the concepts in the cloud. And once you know the cloud concepts, then it's like almost that is the more of technical things. Everything is done. Now you have to learn some other things once you want to get into the projects, like Git for managing versions and all that. And also you should learn some Git is very easy. It's kind of like, you will have hardly 10 to 15 commands where you'll be committing the code whatever you've done. So that's everything, basic things though, that will not take more than 1 or 2 days for you to learn. And agile methodologies, for example, it's not a technical thing. It is not a technical things, but I suggest you to go with this. In YouTube you have number of videos on agile methodologies, how because how you get the project. For example, you are not working in agile methodologies already, you are not working with agile environment, so it will come like tough for you to get to who is giving you data, who is collect, means how the a project starts and how the project ends, that everything will become tough for you. So you should learn like how you from Jira, how you get the Jira is another tool where all the everything will be there. And for example, they define the MRs and user stories and epics, everything in the Jira. And so that's how agile process. So once you go with agile process, you understand the terminology. So that's how you get into that, like how you get the user story. So what is the user story? So when the sprint concepts, all that one you get in the agile methodology. So once you know that one, it's kind of easy for you to uh, it's a theoretical one. So once you are into the project, who gives you the work, how you do the work, where you update the work. So if you get any issues, how you update them in the Jira. So how Scrum Master is tracking you, how, so all that, it's kind of a way of working in the real time. So that will concepts will help you very much. So once you do with them, then once you learn all this, then you can start using some use cases for this big data. Like you can if for example you have installed Cloudera for Hadoop environment, they will have retail DB and other kind big databases. So you should know, you can start googling some use cases. So once you are familiar with some use cases, and it's kind of you can implement them on your laptop, doing hands-on. And AWS is a 1 year free tier account. You can do some concepts, some proofs, some kind of use cases, and you exhibit, show that you can say that I have done this use case, or this is how I learned, or this is what your work is, and you can update that into your Git. So when you create a Git account, so you can showcase like, this is what I learned, or this is my use case. So with that, you will be more confident than learning some theory and saying that you know everything. But you will be very good in doing practically by doing some use cases, some real time use cases, or you will Google it from will get so many concepts, and you can contribute to some Git or some other so you can contribute outside as well. So you will get different kind of use cases as well. So once you are familiar with that, then yeah, this most of the thing, this most more than enough. Then you will have like a, you can also learn Airflow here. Like different companies follow different orchestration tool, but I can suggest you Airflow is more happening nowadays. So you can learn Airflow as well, orchestration tool. So yeah, that's I missed that one. So these are the more major concepts where you can learn. And you can go to the YouTube channels. And also I have found two useful courses useful links, or I can say it's kind of uh, there is a one basic concept how to understand the big data concepts and everything. You will find out that one if you go through this in the EDX. There is one basic things. Once you start, like it's kind of 1 month free, you will get 30 days free, so more than enough. Like it will have like 9 to uh, it's kind of a course where you will have the basic concepts of understanding of it is from IBM, so it's kind of data analytics and statistics. You can get like what is a big data, what is a data engineering ecosystem life cycle, and so you'll get even like career opportunities and learning paths. So it's kind of a basic where you can start, and it's a free for 30 days. You can just register here, and I'll share this link, so you can learn the basic concepts. So what is a data engineering, everything it's covered here. So if you see, yeah, it's a covered in this. I think they have not shown the completely what is the syllabus, but yeah, it's yeah here. Yeah, key data ecosystems. What is a data engineer ecosystems? Type of data, understanding the source data. What is RDBMS, NoSQL? What is a data warehousing, data marts, data lakes? So yeah, I was telling about the ETL and data pipelines. So all these basic concepts you will understand here. It's not a hands-on one, but you will understand what is data engineering, what and all. So once you learn this one, this to start with, after learning MySQL and Python, you can start with this. So you will understand what is what in the data engineering. So once you learn that one, there is one more I can suggest you to go with before you start any paid. I don't suggest you to go with any paid course, but you can, if you wanted, at least try these things, and then you can see from skill up. I'll give you this link from simply learn. You have like a basic concepts. It's a 12 hours video. There are some concepts like what is HDFS layers, what is Apache Hive. Pig is not required, don't worry about it. So what is NoSQL database, ETL process, and so some concepts we have like uh, see, there are 15 lessons, very basics, but still it's more than enough to start with. So it's like I have most of the things which I was telling you. So like functions, introduction to Apache Spark, what is Spark, SQL, machine learning. So basic things you can cover from here. So these courses you start while you start learning here. From after learning MySQL, you can start the two courses that not more than 10 hours, both of together it is not more than 10 hours. Then you will understand what is data engineering, what are the concepts, what are the terminology, everything. So that will be better for you to understand overall picture of the big data engineering. So I think this is more than enough for you to start with, and once you learn all these concepts, then you can do as use cases and start. This is more than enough for you to switch the career from any non-technical IT or DB or SQL or test engineers into big data engineer or data engineering roles. Hope this video is helpful for you. If you have anything to comment, please do comment on this, and definitely I will come back to you. And in my coming videos, I will also do videos on MySQL, on SQL, and also on big data concepts and cloud concepts which are easily understandable. So as I came from non-technical non-IT bag, even though I'm is electronics and computer engineer, but at least initial days I have not worked on anything. Even I don't know how to log into Linux missions in my initial days. So when I switched to cloud and big data, I was kind of a non-IT guy, so I switched in that way. So I'm planning to come with a sequence of videos where it is helpful for non-technical non-IT guys how they can understand well with all these concepts. So because most of the videos they refer to some Java or some other programming language which they know already, but so I felt like everybody should understand, even if you don't have any other skills, it is easy for you to understand. So in that way I'm planning to record my videos so that everybody can understand. So I think that's about it. Yeah, thanks for watching my channel.